New challenges have arisen because of that same prosperity it produces in abundance. One thing we all understand is that happiness isn't just how many shows you can watch on multiple flat-screen TVs or how many digits are in your country's GDP, but rather the social connections we forge, our own sense of importance within a community, and some feeling of purpose during times so rapidly changing.
What I care about is living in a country where decent people can live happy lives, actually. And so, no, I would say immediately, no, are you joking? And I maybe would make up some pretext for public consumption, like, oh, they're dangerous. The technology's not quite finessed. No. But the truth would be, I don't want to put 10 million men out of work because you're going to have 10 million dead families, and the cascading effect from that will wreck your country.
The fact that this will affect mostly men is more important than it may seem. Young men, especially who see no way up for what they see as unfair reasons, are the ones who drive revolutions, who seek to replace the entire system with anything new. This is at worst. At best, they check out of society altogether and turn to destructive means of escapism. This is where we now find ourselves. It may be easy to view the same victims of this growth who voted for the likes of Ocasio-Cortez and Donald Trump as losers threatened by change, as many do. They're threatened by economic progress, but they aren't losers for a lack of will. They're so-called losers because they were born into a system that no longer values the abilities they actually have, and in response, they turn to those who offer them an alternate system that will give them the security they now lack, no matter how misguided.
You showed me a really interesting video. What's your takeaway? Because obviously you have a takeaway if you showed me. I have a takeaway of myself, but we'll start with yours because mine's right.
There's no right or wrong. So by now, a lot of people know about the Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson interview where they argued about...
I didn't realize Tucker Carlson could sound so smart. I like the guy. I just didn't realize, he could sound that way.
So they argued about free market capitalism versus populist regulated capitalism. Because Tucker says, the big key point in the argument was when they were arguing about automation. And Ben Shapiro said, we shouldn't be threatened by automation because automation happens. That's the evolution of our society. And every time, horse and buggy goes out of commission, then we have cars. And then, sure, a lot of candle makers lost their jobs when the light bulb came along, but people will adapt and human life will get better. But Tucker Carlson's argument is that, first of all, there's something unique about the rate of technological advancement that's happening. Some describe it as exponential. Technology is advancing at an exponential rate. So technological revolutions of the past are uniquely different from technological revolutions of present day. Because right now we can see, in the past it might have taken 100 years to advance a certain level, but right now it takes like 20 years to advance that same amount.
Because many studies have been done on the technological singularity. At one point, it's not even going to be 20 years, it's going to be 20 minutes.
Yeah. And then even faster and faster.
So, how do we adapt? How can we adapt? Is it even fucking possible?
And I think this video is going to be in defense of capitalism, or have we finally found the one big weakness of capitalism?
I don't think that's a weakness. It's basically, this is going to be one of those, you go for an interview and people ask you what your greatest flaw is, and you tell them that my greatest flaw is that I work too hard. Except in this case, it's true. My takeaway from this is that what's the flaw of capitalism is that it works too well. Is that really a flaw?
It is a flaw, though, if you look at human well-being as a priority over technological development and standard of living. There's certainly an argument to be made for human well-being being more important. And if you look at it from that perspective, then if technology advances too quickly to the point where every decade we're going to have millions of people lose their jobs, and there's no way for those people who haven't learned to code yet, there's no way for those people to adapt in an increasingly specialized and high IQ, technologically advanced society.
Well, that's the thing is, I don't think that's avoidable. We've had these technological revolutions before, many times in fact, and many people died.
Yeah.
And I think it's naive to think that we're going to be the generation. This time it'll be different. This time when we have that technological revolution, it's going to be different. We're not going to have people die. And I don't think that's possible. People are going to die. You're not going to stop it.
Well, that's an argument from principle, but a consequentialist viewpoint. One of the arguments that is brought up is that young men aren't going to go down without a fight. So when 10 million truck drivers lose their job, they're not just going to be like, guess I'll die. they're going to vote for Bernie Sanders instead. They're going to vote for some charismatic strongman to take the reins of government and crush the free market.
And is crushing the free market going to stop the technological singularity? It's not.
But on the other hand, what happens is instead of those people dying, the productive people are going to die.
The fact of the matter is, in every technological revolution, boils down to a complete clusterfuck, and everybody's going to suffer, and that's just how it's going to be. The issue is not about how we stop it, because I don't think it's stoppable. It's about preparing ourselves for the inevitability so we have a better chance of prospering than those people who are inevitably going to die.
I guess your view on this whole thing is kind of the cold realist view. It's
very cold realist.
Yeah.
We don't want people to die. We don't want a mass die of people every technological revolution. But the truth of the matter is that's how it has been in every technological revolution since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
And no one has ever found a way to mitigate that. Efforts to mitigate that has always backfired. I understand that's a very hard pill to swallow because you don't know who's going to die. It might be me. It might be you. It might be people dear to us. But the fact of the matter is it's going to happen. And my question to people on Tucker Carlson's wavelength, or even Ben Shapiro's wavelength, is at which point do we just look reality in the face and say, you know what, bad things are going to happen, and all we can really do is our best to make sure it doesn't happen to us or people we care about.
Okay.
Like, how many cycles does it take to just realize that sometimes bad things are going to happen? You can't stop it.
I mean, I guess it's kind of a very Greek tragedy way of looking at things. It's like, even though the hero is a great hero, you can't defeat what the gods have in store for you.
Or even the gods have a destiny that they cannot defy. Even the gods have to answer to fate.
Yeah, I should have known that you were going to go with the if he dies type of viewpoint on this.
It's not that if he dies, he dies. It's, we're not Supermen. We're not here to save the world. We're only here to ensure that the safety, livelihoods, and the well-being of those around us and those important to us. That's the extent of our power. So rather than focusing on how we can save the world, focus on how we can save the people around us.
I guess you could say, yeah, the technological revolution where millions die is a preferable outcome to the strongman taking over. But
because that would actually be quicker and less painful.
Yeah. But neither is really something that you can say, hey, isn't this great?
No, because life sucks. That's how it is. Like, why do you think we get so caught up in these bread and circus and religion? It's because it's this temporary respite we have to how bad things actually are.
Okay.
And do you want to shoot off to capitalism and human well-being? Well, I think the real question they're trying to put forth here is capitalism making us unhappy?
Yeah.
Number one. And is there any way to solve this situation, keeping capitalism, but solving that unhappiness issue?
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Again, it's not ideal. I don't have an ideal solution. But in this respect, I might kind of have the if they're unhappy type of viewpoint.
Okay, number one, why do you think people are unhappy? And number two, is capitalism the cause? Number three, if so, can we modify things in such a way where capitalism can simultaneously exist and people be happy?
Right. I think for some people, capitalism isn't helping. These are people who perhaps
can't code.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's something psychological. It's something that has something to do with self-awareness. It's kind of the Maslow's hierarchy thing, where self-actualization is at the top. Maybe we don't have to call it self-actualization, but there is something to a point where you become a happy person fundamentally. And a lot of people are not there.
The Maslow's pyramid kind of goes up from food, shelter, security, family, love, I think was one of them. See, capitalism really helps you get those bottom tier things. If we didn't have capitalism, none of us would have.
Yeah, most of us would still be on the bottom two rungs of the pyramid.
So I'm pretty sure capitalism is helping self-actualization because...
But at the same time, I think capitalism is preventing people from getting from that second highest to the top tier. It's this kind of abundance decadence thing where let's count from the top to the bottom. So people who are at tier 2 are living the most in a material sense, fantastic life imaginable. But because of that, they're not able to ascend to tier 1.
Is it really important to ascend to tier 1? I mean, like,
Yeah.
tier 2 is pretty good already.
But there is something about tier 1 that makes you kind of a fully formed person.
I was born a fully formed person. Look, I'm a fully formed person who've self-actualized, but I just want the free shit, okay? I want tier 2.
But yeah, there's something about tier 1 that I cannot really describe in words, but tier 1 is happiness.
Have you met someone who's tier 1?
I believe that a lot of us who are on kind of this libertarian right are tier 1 people.
I mean, aside from me.
Yeah, I think a lot of us people who are like-minded are actually tier 1 people. They've reached at least some semblance of self-actualization.
Okay, well, have you mostly like done the 3 questions thing?
Yeah, in a roundabout way.
Okay, well, I'm going to go for it now as number 1. What is it making us unhappy? I assert, actually, it's not capitalism that's making us unhappy. We're making ourselves unhappy. No one else but us is making ourselves unhappy. Shifting to question 2 is like, there's the argument that capitalism is the thing causing all our ills. It's because capitalism will take our most base desire and make it into an industry and therefore profit.
Yeah.
We will make everything you ever want into a product. Yeah. Capitalism is too good at this job. It's too good at filling our needs. And so therefore, is it really capitalism's fault? Or is it the fact that by nature we want those things, and once we're fulfilled, we don't want anything else? So it's not capitalism, it's us. It's the human condition.
But you could still say capitalism is contributing to that.
It's enabling it, but it's not the root cause. The root cause is human beings.
Yeah, but there's no way to address the root cause, but there is a way to address capitalism.
Well, actually, I think, for example, are you saying that all people are unhappy?
Not all. There's certainly people who are happy.
So therefore, it's the individual's difference that causes unhappiness.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, to answer that question, is it possible to coexist happily and under capitalism? Yes, obviously, because there are people who are happy. Yeah.
So what needs to be done is not trying to stop capitalism from working too well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's to understand, how do we give humans meaning after giving them everything they've already wanted?
Mm-hmm. But what if the people who are happy, is it because of some kind of innate quality? For example, IQ or self-awareness or something that maybe 60% of the population will never experience because they don't have those innate qualities.
Well, okay, so maybe a good majority of the population is just fucked. Because think about it this way. It's like the Matrix, we gave them everything they ever wanted, but guess what? They hated it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe most people react this way, but would they be more happy if their basic needs weren't even... One thing that they never addressed was that, were people more happy when they were living in mud huts and starving to death? Are we right now as human beings, despite not being happy, more content than the people that we were 500 years ago? Because we, like, even the poorest people in our society live better than kings back then. They never made that comparison. Were we happier being like fucking serfs, or are we happier now? Yeah. Despite not being completely content. Yeah.
And if a majority of people are going to be fundamentally unhappy, regardless of which system they're under, then it doesn't matter if they get UBI. It doesn't matter if they get free everything, college, healthcare, socialized everything. It doesn't matter if they live in some post-scarcity utopia. They're fundamentally unhappy. These are fundamentally broken people.
Yeah, like there's nothing that could really be solved about these people.
Yeah.
Like, what can you give them? Well, they don't want God. In a way, I don't even think they want a purpose. Mm-hmm. What do they want? Like, unless they figure out what they want, in which case, capitalism will do it for them cheaply and quickly. Nothing's going to help them. So capitalism can solve their worries. They just need to identify the exact product they need.
They're just not looking in the right places.
See, I told you I have an answer. Okay. And mine's the right one.
Okay.
Well, let's assume that pyramid, like Maslow's pyramid, is correct. Yeah. Let's assume. Maybe the pyramid it's not an ascension. Like, you don't have to have a foundation before you start building on other things.
Yeah.
Like, because there's always this assumption that you must fulfill base needs before you fulfill other needs. What if that wasn't the case? What if it was a checkbox more than a pyramid?
Yeah, I think so too, actually.
And the happiest people are the people who have self-actualized despite like, they could be poor, they could be starving, they could have no security at all, but they have self-actualized, so therefore they're the happiest.
Yeah. I'm sure there are a lot of people who aren't very well off, but they are very happy.
Yeah, so if we look at it from that standpoint, maybe the happiest people, like, in general, are the people who have checked off the most boxes. Like you said, let's say we hit tier 2 and you're saying those people aren't truly happy. Like, are you sure? Because they look pretty fucking happy to me.
But you were saying earlier that you hit tier 1 without necessarily completely fulfilling tier 2. Right?
I know, like, I can't just spend money out my ass, but you know what? I know exactly what I would do to make myself fulfilled if I had that money.
Yeah.
Like, maybe self-actualization is knowing what to do with the money.
Yeah. But the tricky thing is, how do we get people to self-actualize? It's kind of one of those, it's hard to explain type of things.
Well, what do you think makes you self-actualized? What do you think?
Yeah. You know, when I look back, I think when I was 16, I was actually a very unhappy person.
Most people at 16 were terribly unhappy people.
Yeah. Something
so that's I don't think that's special.
Something actually clicked for me when I was 17.
Too personal?
No, not too personal. It's very hard to explain. But you know what? One thing that did happen is I started talking to myself a lot more.
Oh, you developed an inner voice. You graduated from being an NPC.
Yes, there we go. Yeah.
But me personally, I've always had an inner voice, so I didn't even realize that there are people who didn't monologue.
Yeah. Well, I had an inner voice, but I was very obsessed with basketball from the age of about 12 to 16.
Did you watch Sam Dunk?
Yeah. And, you know, at that time, inner voice was all about fucking basketball and how to dribble behind your back and all these spin moves and cool tricks. So something changed.
Because my monologue when I'm playing sports is like those sports mangas.
Yeah.
He's going to move this way. No, the other way.
Yeah. And I had a rival in high school too. And it was all about...
all about your rival.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think when I finally got out of that phase... So maybe this is another thing about capitalism and abundance. A lot of people do get caught up in kind of these, you know, first world problems. And then they don't ascend to that higher voice.
I think my biggest difference is a lot of people complain about, I have to be engaged at my job. I have to be intellectually stimulated. They always talk about how, like, they need outside stimulation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think the big difference is I know exactly what I would do if I became rich. Well, not even fuck you rich. If I didn't have to work, I know exactly what I do.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people say they do, but they don't actually. Mm-hmm. Maybe a lot of people don't know what fulfills them.
Yeah.
Why is that? It's pretty easy to know what you like.
Then again, a lot of people spend their whole lives not knowing.
No?
It's very interesting, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I know one very fundamental difference. I'm not a very sophisticated person.
Okay.
So my wants and needs are quite simple. I'm not too worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
I know what makes me happy, and it doesn't make me ashamed to know that they're quite lowbrow.
Okay.
But I think many people fall into this trap of thinking they need to be someone they're not. Mm-hmm. That their wants aren't what they actually want.
But then again, some people genuinely... But then those people do know what they want if they... Yeah.
So if they genuinely want sophisticated things, they should keep aiming for it.
Right. But a lot of people have trouble being honest with themselves in terms of what they really want.
I mean, all I want is a hot chick. She could give me companionship, sex, booze, good food, good friends, as little work as possible.
Yeah.
And entertainment. That would fulfill me. And maybe even create some of my own entertainment.
Yeah.
That's all I need. I don't need to be a famous inventor. I don't need to change the world. I don't need to save humanity. I just want to live a good life.
And maybe this is also one of the ills of modern society. It's that there's this keeping up with the Jones syndrome. There's
I have to save the world.
Yeah.
You're not nobody if you don't save the world, if you don't change the world, if you don't make a difference. I don't care if I make absolutely no difference, as long as I'm happy. So yeah. Honesty, I guess.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
And how to tune out all of that external stuff, that what people tell you what you should
want
Yeah.
rather than what you actually want.
Although for me personally, the reason why I want to quote unquote make a difference is because there's people that I hate and I just really want to destroy them. It's more
No, like revenge is a good goal to have because it makes. If you really want revenge, you should totally go for it. Like none of this, like revenge is bad. It only damages people. Thing. No, go about it smart. Do it right. Get your revenge. Have minimal repercussions. It will make you happy. I could tell that from experience.